Hi everyone, my name is Veronica Alfonso and welcome again to Hashtag Career Goals, where we help you discover the right career for you. Today we are interviewing Santosh. He's a product designer from Munich. Well, he's from India, but he's working in Munich. And he's telling us all about his beginnings in his career, why he decided to pursue this career path. He's also giving a lot of advice and resources that you can use afterwards if you're interested in this career. So please stay tuned because I know that this interview will bring so much value. Okay, Santosh, thank you so much for being here and for accepting this interview. I'm so happy to have you.
I'm glad, Veronica, to help.
Okay, I wanted to start maybe asking you to introduce yourself and where you're from, what do you do now, how old are you, what did you study in the university, like just let us know about yourself, please.
Well, I'm Santosh. I'm currently living and working in Munich. I'm from India, and since about 8 years, I've been doing designing interfaces and experiences for users. I'm currently 28 years old, and although I've studied biotechnology, I found true satisfaction in designing usable solutions. And my core motivation is the feedback I receive from the users. That's what I do.
So, Santosh, my first question that I wanted to tackle today was that I know there are many paths that you can take in product design. So, can you please explain a little bit what you do as a product designer so we can understand more or less in what path you are?
Yeah, that's true. In product design, I'm on the digital side, with designing user interface and experience for softwares and, typically mobile, web, and computer. But the role would also include uncommon digital experiences, like, for example, a parking ticket meter. And my typical ownership would be to bring an idea into a well specified, developable asset. So the icing on the cake here would be in properly defining them using standard processes and efficiently organizing them into modular components for reusability and, of course, the aesthetic beauty. So that's mainly what I do.
Thank you for sharing that. And can you maybe also tell us how did you start in product design? Did you get any formal education from the beginning, or was it more self-taught?
In my case, it's more self-taught, and from that experience, I would say a formal education does help in getting the theory right, but self-taught and self-experiencing helps you learn from your own mistakes. So I'd say it's about 70-30 for self-informal.
Would you recommend going for formal education at university, or do you think courses and institutes are a better option? What do you think is best in this case? Because many people are always worried that, okay, should I really invest in a course? Should I invest my time and money on this? Or should I better just try to find everything online, and the resources are there, but they're scattered online, so all over the internet. So what do you think is it's best for those people that don't know what to do in regards to education?
Mm, for a specific role like user experience designer or a researcher, I'd say a formal education is more important. But for a visual role like a user interface designer and more practical plus aesthetic value of the design, real skills are needed. So self-taught and online courses or institutes are a better option there. Although in my case, as a product designer, you'll be hands-on with both UX and UI. So sharpening your skills and staying up to date with the current trends and reading the case studies. These are mainly the important things. From small and big brands, they take higher priority over formal education. And with these kind of skills, you can showcase your portfolio more than someone with just a university logo in their resume. And I think portfolio takes more weightage than a formal education.
Right. So maybe what you're saying is that if you want to pursue a really artistic path, that also, of course, has some rules to it, because in your career you have many like guidelines that you have to follow. However, if you really want to explore your creative side and go through an artistic path, then probably it's best to also see what's out there and what other brands are doing, and also do your research online and try to do some self-taught, but it's actually just doing some more research online, I guess, right?
Exactly, and that gives you the real on-field experience. And Although formal education teaches you the theory part, as I said, the real value is in observing how the small and big brands uh, have their take on these designs.
Great. Good. So now we can jump to the other question that I have, and that is how would you recommend someone to start learning about product design, and what should they do? Because some people are like, okay, good. Then if I decided to pay for it, so they know if they're going for somehow formal education. But
Mhm.
then, how do they actually start learning everything else? Like they have a course, but they have so much more to study. They have so much more experience to acquire. So what would you say to those people?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I mean, I've seen a lot of applicants for the product designer role who apply with pure artsy background, and their portfolio consists of beautiful but yet impractical interface designs. So, in my view, this role could be an easy trap for people finding themselves in design. And my biggest tip is to use as many apps as you can, explore their features and read on their websites how their marketing team is branding them and how they're showing off their features, in your head to assess the value. And that is the biggest step in tuning your brain in first direction.
Good. So I also wanted to ask you about your first experience as a product designer. I think this is more to give inspiration to others because they don't know how to imagine their lives as a product designer at the beginning. Everyone is scared to get like an internship, or they say, okay, I'm gonna go do some job, but I really don't know what to expect, and they get super anxious. So if you can tell us about your experience, so they can get inspired and motivated. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, the term product designer was floating around since I started my career too. But back then I had specialized experiences in each role that contributed and combined up that made me the product designer. And as I probably said before, product designer is like a combination of UX and UI and different other roles as well. So I would say, in my case, actually, I was experiencing all of these individual roles, specialized way. So I was first a UX rock star by role, where my main responsibility was just to define the UX patterns and so on. And then I moved on to the next role and next role. So all of these combined make a product designer. And so for someone who's starting out, I would also suggest to experience the steps in the whole product design life cycle and then actually do it to feel it. In my first company, the initial tasks was I was part of a design team where they had already existing designers, and my first role was to just convert them into HTML websites. So I got a design in Photoshop file and I converted, right, wrote HTML to it, and eventually I got kind of good at it, and but then the designs were not so good. So I ended up researching on the designs, getting inspired there. And this is what I said before, when you have to understand the steps in the whole product design, you have to experience them. And I started out by becoming a front-end developer, with the role UX rockstar, and my daily job was just to convert designs to HTML. And eventually the HTML part got so good, I ended up learning design. And now the designs are quite good, but the front end was not so good and the back end wasn't so good. So when you connect these all roles in part of the product design, you that's how I started, and I experienced individually each one of them at least for a year, I would say.
So many people are at the beginning. They really don't know if product design could be the right decision for them or the right path for them. How do you think someone can know if product design is the right career for them? How did you know actually?
Good question. Let's take a restaurant example. Think of the steps and the roles. So someone gets the vegetables from the market, someone washes them, someone cuts them, someone cooks them, and someone else delivers to the customer, and so on. In product design, you also have these various steps, so that actually do the job and experience each role. That's my biggest suggestion. And which one do you imagine yourself doing every day and night after you do them? So if you like doing the cutting the vegetables, or if you like washing the vegetables much more than other jobs in the pipeline, then that's your path. And in my case, as said before, I started off with the front end development and then got into the design and then development. But I loved all of them in combination. But I didn't like the back end development or the front end development. So programming wasn't my happy thing, but the product designing part was. So UI and UX, and that's how I found my path. And I would say, really feel the job, do it, experience it, and then upon completion, if it gives you the butterflies, then that's how you know.
Mhm. Sure. And when you were exploring all these aspects of product design, you did it at home, right? I mean, probably you were a teenager and you were just trying to explore and see what it was like. So tell us a bit about that, about yourself in that age and just figuring out if you really like product design or yeah, just tell us about that story about this teenager that was exploring with backend and frontend and all these stuff.
I think the main part here would be what motivates me, right? As I said in the beginning, the core motivation is the feedback that I receive from the users. So during my teens, I had no idea that I could create something that people use and give you appreciation or feedback on that. So the sheer idea of just creating something from thin air was my motivation. And then design was kind of running in the family, I would say. My father was an artist and he loves to paint every day. So looking at the colors and paintings, art was just running, right? And then digital design as a teen just came up one day. I got this job at a coupons company that's like the number one in India right now. But
Mhm.
there I was doing the designs, and eventually I just found myself continuing to do that.
Good. And can you tell us what do you enjoy the most about being a product designer?
User feedback, both good and bad, but I love a good user feedback. A good as in terms of quantity. Even if it's positive or negative, negative is the biggest one to be constructive, but I love good user feedback, and I love to think of solutions to the problems that users state when using a software, or and the best part is when everything gets fixed and they give you this happy feedback.
Hmm.
That's the most enjoying part that I'd have.
It's really interesting that you say this because I remember when we were talking off camera, like preparing this interview, you were saying that the every designer should have this mindset, like you're always prepared to know how to make things better, that people can use it better, and it's just like a mindset, a way of thinking. So if you, I mean, I'm asking you what do you enjoy the most, and you're saying user feedback. It's just because you know that as a designer, you need to really take this information, which is super valuable for you, so you can make your thing and your work and whatever platform or thing that you're working on just better. So I guess it's like you said, it has to be this mindset. It's just always constantly on you.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, it's kind of more common in other roles as well. Like if even if you try out a new cake, you'd like to have people taste it and give you feedback,
Of course.
and then you want to improve it and make it more better. And that's this instant feedback is a psychological loop as well in Instagram. When you upload a photo, you expect likes. When you do something, you expect something back. But as a product designer, the value add is not just the feedback, but also the ease of use and people repeatedly using it. So all of these combined is really the point here.
Okay, and of course, now you have to tell us what do you enjoy the least about a product, about being a product
Mm.
designer.
At times, when business drives design decisions, I think that's a common downside that most product designers see, because they wanted to design something, but the business says no, or hey, we can't do that because blah blah blah. This kind of issues would be a major problem. But I um, also think this is my skill to understand business and also design both. So you can make this least enjoyable part and use it like a strength, in fact. But that would be my least enjoying thing, when the business drives design decisions, but not the user, where user should have been always your center in design decisions.
Yeah.
But I also use it as my own strength when talking to different businesses. So if you're looking out for a job and the company asks you this kind of a question, how would you decide if the manager says no or something like that? Then you shouldn't really feel bad, but you can actually return use it saying, I take it to as an input to understand the business. Okay, so if this is how the business usually says no, or this is how it works, then that's how my next design solutions would be. And then you can constantly adapt and make the visual feel in a better way that satisfies the business. So
That's so valuable, honestly, because when you think about it, if you're trying to prepare to be a good candidate or for a job or even just a good professional, I guess, and you don't know that this is an essential component for you to be a really good professional, then you might fail a lot because you get super frustrated because you realize, oh, the user is not always the most important thing in the decision making process. And if you just try to present your ideas that benefit both sides, or you just try to just make your ideas good for both sides, then it would be amazing. Yeah. But I guess you learn that with experience, right? I mean, it's not something that you can really develop beforehand.
correct, you cannot. This is something that grows with you. So if you are and that's something I would also suggest for new people who are applying for product designer in the company, to understand the company's culture, read about them. These companies have a career page that talk about their culture and so on. Most people skip and then scroll down to the career path, but there's a good value in that. And when you read that, you can understand how the company thinks, or how they're just showing off. So this can be a good advantage to everyone.
Of course, amazing. Yeah, that's really good advice. And for one last advice, can you please tell us what would be your words of wisdom or your advice for the aspiring product designers out there?
I would divide this into two parts. One for just the skill development, for the new product designers, and one for getting the jobs, right? So for the skills part, my biggest advice, and something that helped me, and that's why I'm able to give advice, is to use as many tools as possible and read a lot about all the apps out there. I'm sure everyone knows about the Microsoft Suite, Microsoft Office, and so on. Use all those well-established apps for sure, but also look up for these startups in that same space. For example, there's a recent favorite, Coda.io, Coda.io. You can use Microsoft Word and Coda.io. They both solve the same purpose, but then you can understand what difference these startups are making. This has been an established software for a long time. Everyone's using it, everyone loves it. But what different uh, features is Coda offering? So these are the observations you can always compare with the softwares and if you use more. And this way, once your brain starts thinking in ideas, then you have to think about putting it out visually. I think one common mistake people that I've talked to have done was directly jump into the design and then say, hey, I can't use this software, or I don't know how to put a gradient in this, and things like that. But don't struggle there. Tune your mind first, and then the designing part is just a tool. Another suggestion for skill development, I would say, that worked out for me, is to think of micro apps. For example, if you have to be an entrepreneur in your own mind. So when you, as a product designer, you are the first person who's putting ideas from thin air into reality, right? So you have to think of micro apps and then create an entire flow. So this is where the theory part comes in, right? When you study about the user flows, wireframes, low fidelity, high fidelity, all the technical terms that people use. So create all of them as if it was your own app, and then create it like a company, and then make it a micro app. If you start to think of a massive software, like I want to change the whole industry for I don't know, cruise deployment, delivery, and whatever. It's too massive. Don't start with the real basic one. I want to create a notes app where you can quickly annotate stuff or a common problem that you've seen, and then create an app on your own. So spend time, put a time limit for sure, but spend time on it, simulate the whole app, and you have a whole product design out there. And this has improved, and you have to be open to trash that work as well. That's an important asset. But for sure it will be trashed, but then you have created something. And
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
for a skill part. Yeah.
So that's like your way of playing with it, just like exploring what can you do, how you can develop something like you said. And I think it's amazing advice because some people just think that by reading about it and maybe doing some research about it, they're gonna be amazing product designers, but it's not. It's really putting the effort. It's like exercising your brain every single day to think in some particular way as well.
Yeah. Hey, exactly said. And by exercise, I also think about this. I've received some advice in the past from some people saying, hey, set a fixed time from 6 to 7 in the evening, and then keep doing this work, and you'll get better at this. No, product design, at least that's what worked for me, is not about a fixed schedule or a regime, and it has to also do with a bit of creativity. So you can't say, okay, it's 6 p.m. now, and I got the creative juices flowing. So I would suggest, don't put such a time schedule. It's not fitness, but just do it. And then don't stop it until you finish it. That's the skill part of the advice. And yeah, for the job seekers out there, biggest suggestion would be, like, I've interviewed at least 500 plus applicants so far after coming to Germany, and the crazy difference I've seen was portfolios. None of them have a really good portfolio. And after improving all these skills, as I said, the main thing for a job is to create a portfolio and infuse your style. As soon as you look at it, like for example, we both have plants in the background. That's our style, right? You have to put in your style in your portfolio, and that is something that product designers observe when they interview. If it looks like some rip off template, cvtemplate.com or something, then it's bad. But spend time on it, do that part. And also, personally, if I like some job or a company, I would even spend time redoing my whole resume, cover letter, both in terms of design.
Wow.
And to give a weird analogy, like finding a house in Germany is a difficult thing. Everyone knows that. But for me, it has worked out, thankfully. But I think I would relate it because I personally changed the message on, hey, you know what? I like the balcony a lot. I can imagine myself sitting there, and blah blah. So make it more.
For the apartment and the person knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, advertising.
So make it more personalized. I mean, in the end, it's not machines that read your resumes. It's real people, right? So make it more personalized. Reach out to them. You're a product designer. You should reach out to users. If you're not able to reach out to product design recruiter, then it's bad.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, like you said, it's in the end, it's something that you have to be prepared to trash, but you wouldn't trash your actual portfolio. So all these little jobs before your actual work that you want to show the companies are the ones that you're going to trash, but are the ones that are going to teach you the most and going to take you to the actual good one that you're going to present to the industry and what.
I can actually share you a bunch of portfolios that I've developed over all these years. I have like 7 of them at least.
Amazing. We can put it in the comments and people can check them out then.
Yeah.
Great. That's amazing. And also, maybe can you tell us some books for that beginners can read about this topic, websites, YouTube channels, courses online that you might have done and you would really recommend to others? Yet resources that people can use after they see this video.
Books wise, I don't have like a topic specific books, but I do have 2 crazy suggestions, and they're really good in tuning your mind. And I keep referring to this mind. These are like books from Neer Ayal, Hooked and Indistractable. These both are quite good. Hooked is like to create habit forming products.
Mhm.
Uh, like we have this instinct to immediately check it if there's a notification, if there's a ding, oh, what happened. So as a product designer, you should create products like that, although it's bad in one way. And these books really help you think in that direction. And there are some other books too, but I'll share the links to you separately so you can put them in the comments,
Of
in the
course,
description.
yeah. Everything that he's mentioning, we're gonna put in the comments, I mean, the description box, not comments, but so you can check them out and you can click them and just get them right away. And
Yeah.
do you, before when we were talking and we were preparing this video, you also mentioned some, it was like designer guidelines or design guidelines that some huge brands have. And you mentioned that you really like the one for Uber, and which other one was it?
Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah. So those ones we're also gonna put in the the description box, and then you can just click them and check them out because it teaches you a lot. He was showing me, it was like a master class with him, honestly. And he was showing it, and they just show you what to do, what not to do, or this is my brand, this is not my brand, and it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah. And to conclude from my side, I would say do go through all those brand guidelines books from these brands,
Yeah.
but also go through producthunt.com for get it's like a Kickstarter in these startups, right? You have a lot of new products in the market, and they try to advertise themselves a lot with crazy features that people might have already known, like changing the common things that we know but in a new way. And this is a good food for thought. So for in my case, I would even like scroll through this website and also dribble when I'm just bored having a breakfast or lunch sometimes as well. My wife hates me for that, but that's helpful. So I'll share all these links with you, Veronica, and then you can put them in the description box.
Of course.
But only if your subscribers subscribe.
Yeah, that's really important. You have to subscribe, hit like if you like this video, and leave us a comment below as well, telling us what you like the most and what would you like to see next. And if you have any questions to Santosh, also we can let him know that you asked him this, and he can probably answer happily, I hope.
I'll gladly do that. I'll constantly check comments on this video for questions as well.
Great. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Santosh, thank you so much for this interview. I mean, it has been amazing for me to have you here because I know that you have so much knowledge, and this is the part of what I would like to do with my channel, and it's just inspire others, motivate others by giving just advice from professionals and from people that know this and have been there and have an amazing career like you.
No, thank you, Veronica, for giving me this opportunity. I mean, I do feel a lot of times to explain this to people, but I hope this would be a good channel.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much everyone for watching, and see you in the next time, and don't forget to comment below if you have any questions. Bye.